Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to continue our work on the BMW R1200GS build. So today we're going to work on adding the skid plate, the Happy Trails skid plate to the bike, and yeah, so let's go ahead and first we'll start out by verifying that we have all the parts. The bolt kit is complete before we get started. We don't want to get started and find out that we maybe short something, so we'll go ahead and verify that first, and then we will get on with the install. Alright, let's check it out. Alright, so first and foremost, obviously we're going to have the skid plate in the kit, and then we're also going to have the impact isolator there. Alright, so for hardware, you should have all of these brackets that you see here, and then you'll have a couple of clamps, and then you'll have a couple of bushings, nylon bushings for those clamps, and then we'll have a M10 by 90 with a nut. We'll have a couple of M8 by 40 also with nuts, and then we'll have 4 M6 by 16 hex heads, and then 4 M6 by 16s, and then a couple of M6 by 20s with nuts, and then you should have a total of 16 washers, and you should have a total of 4 lock washers, and then you'll have a couple of these 10mm washers, and then you'll also have 6 M6 lock nuts down here, and then you'll have a couple of speed clips to connect to this bracket up here. So if you have all of that hardware, everything looks good, then I would say let's begin the install. Alright, so I've got the skid plate that was on there taken off, as well as the bracket here, and we're going to replace that. We're actually going to reuse this bolt that was in that forward bracket with the existing skid plate, and we're going to use that to mount this right up here, and then we're going to put the speed clips for the forward nuts on here, and so that's going to be step 1. Bracket is on and the threaded speed clips are in place, and then you can see that I've just reused the bolt, that M10 bolt and nut to secure that bracket on the bike. So with that bracket on, just kind of finger tight for now, we're going to go ahead and rotate that down like so, and then you can see the bracket on the other side as well here on the frame, and we've got those in place and ready for the next step. Alright, so next step, we are going to attach these brackets to these clamps, and we're going to clamp. First you put on the nylon bushing, and then you put the clamp around over that, and that just clamps to the frame there. And the bigger bracket here goes on the left side of the bike, smaller bracket goes on the right side, and then you just want to take these M6 by 16 C's and add a lock washer and a flat washer, and then we'll go ahead and we will run these brackets up onto these clamps with the slots forward. So hopefully you can see that, the slots toward the front of the bike, and we're not going to tighten those down. We're just going to kind of finger tighten these on here for now, and then we'll move on to the next step. And then we'll just add these mounting tabs with the other M6 by 16 bolts with a washer on either side. So 2 washers per bolt, and then the M6 nut, and we're just going to leave that hanging loose. and onto the next step, which is actually putting the skid plate up. So we're going to go ahead, and we've got these M8 by 40 bolts, and we're going to go ahead and run these up through the impact pad and the skid plate up into our speed clips on this bracket up front, and then we'll go ahead and get the skid plate hanging from the bike that way. And then with the skid plate just hanging from those two bolts, we'll go ahead and move back to the back to our brackets, and we're just going to lift the skid plate up until this bracket is flush, and then we're going to run our M6 by 20 with a couple of washers and a couple of M6 nuts on the back side of that, and then we're going to go ahead and tighten that bolt as well as this top one here, and we're going to do that on both sides. And then you can see the bracket on this side as well. This is on the right side of the bike. All right, so with the this bolt down here tightened and just the top one tightened there, we've got the plate. You know, as you're tightening this top one, you kind of want to push up on the plate to get it snug up under the bike, and then you can tighten that one. And then once that's all done, we'll go ahead and tighten the other bolts, which include this one and these two front ones. And then we will also, of course, tighten these M6 by 16s on the bracket that goes into the clamp as well. And then on these front bolts on the skid plate, we'll want to run those through just enough to where we can get some nuts onto the other end of them through the speed clip. And then that is it. That is it for the install of the Happy Trails skid plate on the BMW R1200GS. And look at the protection that you get from that skid plate. That is far superior to the stock skid plate. You can even see got a little, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but I have a little rock, little dent right there in the head pipe that would not have happened had I had this skid plate on. Of course, that happened before I owned the bike, so at any rate, look at that. Look at it. Very nice, very nice. And then you have extended protection back here underneath your exhaust as well. So looking good, looking good. Thank you guys for joining me for this video in the build series on our R1200GS. I appreciate you guys hanging out through this build series, and I hope that this video has helped some of you get your skid plate installed and get that protection that you need, that cheap insurance for your investment. Until next time, here's to my fellow adventurers, and we will see you on the trails.